Shalom. Welcome to part 3 of the talk on the feminine nature of the set apart spirit. Now, the question was, and that has to be answered, is wisdom, or the personification of wisdom, the set apart spirit of Yahuwah? I think the answer to this can be found at Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 11 verse 2, which, when amplified, states, "And the spirit, Ruach, a feminine noun, of Yahuwah, she totally settled." That's Nuach, to rest, to cease, to lie down, to remain, satisfy. But it's rendered in the third person feminine perfect, denoting a completeness and totality of action. And of course in the feminine, the verb modifying into the feminine shows that the Ruach itself is in the feminine. So this, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she totally and completely settled upon him. The spirit of wisdom, Chakma, feminine noun, and understanding, intelligence and insight, Binah, feminine singular verb. The spirit of counsel, Etzem, from feminine, that's Etzar, feminine of Etzem, meaning a firm support, to be a counsellor, that is one who is of a firm support. Also the Messiah sends another counsellor, another comforter, and this is exactly whom he is sending. And strength, Gebura, again in the feminine. Spirit of knowledge, understanding and discernment, Da'at, and reverence and deepest respect, Yerat, again both in the feminine, of Yahuwah. Okay, now let's read that without the amplifications. And the spirit of Yahuwah, she totally settled upon him. The spirit of wisdom and understanding, intelligence and insight. The spirit of counsel and strength. The spirit of knowledge, understanding and discernment. And reverence and deepest respect of Yahuwah. Okay, there we have it in that verse. We are plainly told that the set apart spirit of Yahuwah is also the spirit of wisdom. She is wisdom. She is Chakma. And the words, and we have the words of Yahuwah equating the spirit of wisdom, insight, understanding, intelligence with the spirit of Yahuwah. That is, Yeshayahu equates to Proverbs 8 chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 1. The set apart spirit of Yahuwah is wisdom, the wisdom of Proverbs chapter 8. She shouts out to people, but they must choose to discern her voice, and then they must choose to understand her. The spirit, wisdom, she speaks, verses 6 to 9, and in verse 10 she corrects and disciplines. She is the counsellor and comforter of verse 14. And verse 13 tells us exactly the same as Yeshayahu chapter 11 verse 2. That deep reverence and respect of Yahuwah comes through her. Then verse 17 tells us that she loves those who love her. How can some impersonal wisdom, a tool of our faculties, love anything? It can't. It can only be used. A tool is a tool to be used. But only a personal, or should I say, a personality, can love. And that personality is the set apart and cleansing spirit, wisdom. She walks the path of straightness. A tool cannot walk anywhere. She walks the path of justice. A tool can walk and give no justice. And she grants an inheritance to those who love her substance. And that shows she has got substance. I just looked up the word substance in the Oxford English Dictionary. And it states the meaning of the word substance. What underlies phenomena. Permanent substratum of things. That in which accidents or attributes inhere. Essential nature, essence, or most important part of anything. Purport, real meaning, theme, subject matter, material. Also means possession, wealth. So substance is something tangible. A tool of our faculties is not tangible. Substance is a being, is a personality. Wisdom, that is just a tool of our faculties, is nothing. Yes, wisdom can fill our treasure houses if we use it properly, if we use the tool of wisdom properly. Yeah, absolutely. But here it doesn't say that. It says wisdom, the substance, those who love her substance, her being, she fills their treasures. She, not an it, or a tool, or a thing. So here we have the personification of wisdom, the Spirit of Yahuwah, no more and no less. They are one and the same. Now we come to a section of Proverbs, chapter 8, which I believe equates to the account of making Eve or Chava, that her being brought out and away from Adam is a reflection of the Spirit of Yahuwah, the setting apart, that's why she's called the set apart, of the Spirit from the whole within eternity. And the first interesting verse is verse 22. Yahuwah gathered me at the beginning of his path, his deeds of antiquity. The word gather, kana, has a primary meaning of is to gather together, like you would gather wood for a fire, or the gathering of tools for a specific job. And likewise Yahuwah gathered together the tools or the instrument for his work of creation and redemption, salvation. Wisdom, or the set apart spirit, was one of the instruments, for want of a better term, and she was brought forth from before the foundations of the universe were even laid. She was set apart from Yahuwah himself. Therefore, as she comes from him, she is also him, albeit his feminine nature. Because whatever you take out of water remains water. Whatever you take out and set apart from Yahuwah remains Yahuwah, but his feminine nature. She was set apart from within eternity, from before time existed. Within eternity, infinity. She always existed within infinity. Infinity. She always existed within this eternity. She was a part of and set apart from Yahuwah. And as Yahuwah is, so is she. It was within this eternity that the instruments were set apart for a purpose. These instruments were the Son and the Spirit. And these were both set apart for their own specific purposes for creation and salvation. I know this is a mind bender. Within eternity, time does not exist. Actually, time doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's meaningless within eternity. Because 1 second is eternal, and eternity can be 1 second. But every point of existence is, and must contain, infinity. And infinity must contain every single point of existence, or Father's existence. So, from this thinking, the Spirit and the Son must always, within infinity, be set apart from the Father, and yet must always be one with him, and also be him. And I think this is the meaning of Akkad, the compound unity of one within within infinity, and also outside of it. And when we come to the Shema, and if you listen to my teachings on the Shema, Akkad is made up of the strength of the unity of the family, or those that come through the doorway to the family home. Okay, now we've got verse 23, where the Spirit is being poured out. From eternity I was poured out from the top of the ancient land, or from the top of the ancient material realm. As Shavan Eve, or Eve, was set apart and in a sense pulled out, not forgetting it was a physical bone pulled out from Adam, the Spirit was set apart and poured out from Yahuwah. I mean, a physical thing within eternity cannot exist. A spiritual thing only can exist. So she, the Spirit, was poured out from Yahuwah. And it's like outside of our material realm. As I said, matter just cannot exist. Matter only exists within nature. And the Spirit would be akin to water, the waters of life, or better still, liquid. So the verb to pour out would be far more appropriate than a physical pulling out of a bone, but the link is valid all the same. This whole section of Mishlei with Proverbs is about the Spirit and how she interacts with Father's creation, as well as the relationship she has with him. It is more a husband-wife relationship. He is the father and she is the mother of all creation. And she is and he become one being, along with the Son. And I know many people will balk at this sort of understanding, and some will even call it blasphemous. But it is the only understanding which fits with the whole of the scroll of Yahuwah. Also, this understanding gives us more light to the fifth commandment, to greatly honour your father and mother. This command is primarily speaking of our heavenly Father and our spiritual mother, and only from a secondary point of view is that talking about our mortal mothers and fathers. And I'll be showing this further at the end of the talk. But first I shall show more scriptures denoting the feminine nature of the Spirit from the Hebrew. Bereshit, chapter 1 verse 2, that's Genesis 1:2. And the material realm existed as a chaotic void obscured in darkness, together with, along with, and in the presence of the inaccessible mysterious depths, abyss, and the Spirit, Ruach, feminine noun, of the mighty authority Elohim, she hovered, fluttered, and cherished. That's from the word rakaf, feminine singular, to flutter, the stirrings or shakings of a bird in the nest. And this is conjugated in the PL stem, indicating the object of the verb, in this case the fledgling universe, suffers the effect of the verb, the fluttering and shaking of the subject of the verb, the Spirit. Rakaf also gives the idea of a bird caring for the young in the nest by her fluttering to ward off predators, etc. Back to the text. Together with, along with, and in the presence of the inaccessible mysterious depths, the abyss, and the Spirit of the mighty authority, she hovered, fluttered, and cherished over and upon the face of the waters. Now we've got to remember the face of the waters here is the universe is mainly made up of hydrogen, and of course the primordial soup of the fledgling universe was basically hydrogen, and hydrogen is the basis of water, H2O. So it makes perfect sense within the scientific account and also the creation account. And now in this verse, and that's, obviously I digressed a bit there, in this verse we have the Spirit of Yahuwah, the mighty authority, being depicted as a feminine noun. But more importantly, the associated verb modifies rakaf into the feminine, making the subject of the verb, the Spirit, also feminine. The verb is used to depict a fluttering, a bird that flutters over the nest, and which is often used as a metaphor for the Spirit, as it tells us in Devarim, or Deuteronomy chapter 32 verses 11 and 12. And it reads, as an eagle arouses and stirs her nest, quickly cleaning and hovering over to protect it on behalf of her young, spreading out her wings like a garment covering them, receiving them, lifting them up, and carrying them away upon her wings. So Yahuwah alone, separated from others, led the way. And there is no false mighty one working or associating with him. Here the eagle is depicted as a mother bird with her children, simply because Yahuwah's spirit is our spiritual mother. And this is a unique benefit of being born from above, being born of the Spirit. We become her children, the eternal sons and daughters of the Most High, Yahuwah. And like an eagle with her young, she hovers over us to protect us. She keeps us pure in Yahuwah's eyes. She always is washing us and cleansing us from our sins in our soul. She feeds us, she instructs us, she teaches us, and she carries us away on her wings, being led by our Father, Yahuwah. And having no other mighty ones, no false mighty ones, no men or anything before us. But even more importantly, she covers us. She clothes us. And it says there, spreads out her wings like a garment covering them. The Spirit is light. And when we're covered in her, fully, completely covered, which is what Yom Kippur is about, the days of covering, or the day of coverings, the Spirit comes, not just fills us, but she covers us. She covers us with her garments of light, so that we will be once again exactly like Adam and Shavah or Eve in the garden before they fell, before they realized they were naked. They were covered in the Spirit's garments of light, and they saw no nakedness, they just saw the light that is covering each one of them. Now let's read Exodus or Shemot, chapter 31:3 and chapter 35:31. This is the same, is repeated. And I have filled Mali. It's a wild consecutive plus imperfect, indicating that the action is past but with unfolding consequences. And I have filled him with the spirit of the mighty authority in wisdom. Here we go again. The spirit and wisdom is linked with intelligence and understanding, again linked with the Spirit, and with knowledge, insight and discernment, again with the Spirit, and in all work, craftsmanship, business of the one sending him, Malakah, the feminine singular of the root Melech, meaning king. Another word for from the root is Makal, meaning messenger, or the messenger is coming in the name of the authority, in the name and authority of the king, or the authority sending them. Malakah has the root meaning of the work of the messenger, or the work in this case of the heavenly messenger, the one who comes in the name and authority of Yahuwah. Now here we have Betzalel being called by name and filled with the Spirit of Yahuwah, and the associated verbs with the Spirit are all rendered in the feminine singular. Also, all these attributes, wisdom, knowledge, insight, discernment, intelligence, understanding, all come with her because these attributes are hers naturally, and anyone she comes to reside with and in benefits from those attributes. Also, the term Malakah shows that Betzalel was chosen to do the work of the authority sending him, and in this case it's Yahuwah, who called him by name to accomplish his work, the work of the heavenly messenger. So the Spirit, she also enables people to accomplish the work they are called to do, be it prophecy, fighting, leading, healing, or even a gold or silversmith. It doesn't matter what it is they are called to do, she enables them to do it. Numbers chapter 11 verse 26. And 2 men remained in the camp, the name Shem, character, reputation, renown, I think I missed a bit out here in this verse, and the other named Medad, and the spirit she settled down and rested upon them. Now again, the ruach is a feminine noun being modified by a feminine verb, ruach, saying that she settled down and rested upon them. Not ruach, that she rested upon them. Numbers 24:2, again we have the same in this verse where Balaam saw the tribes of Yashael camping. And verse 2 goes on to say, and the spirit of the mighty authority, she came to exist. And that's feminine singular third person of Hayah. Judges 3:10. And the spirit of Yahuwah, meaning he exists, from Hayah, meaning to be, exist, to live. She existed, Tehi, third person in feminine singular of Hayah, upon him. Here we see Yahuwah rising up, deliverer and judge for Yashael, Othniel, but to empower him we are told that the spirit of Yahuwah, she existed upon him. So again we have the verb associated with the noun ruach modified to feminine, showing that the spirit is also feminine. Judges chapter 6 verse 4. And the spirit of Yahuwah, she completely clothed. Lobshah, feminine third person, perfect conjugation, denoting the completeness and totality of the action, from the root labash, meaning to clothe, to put on and wear. So the spirit of Yahuwah, she completely clothed Gideon, and he sounded the shofar. As we can see from the verse, we have the feminine spirit ruach with the associated verb labash also being rendered in the feminine. Then we see that Gideon's rendered masculine, and the verb associated with him, takah, is also rendered masculine. Therefore we have a feminine spirit and a masculine Gideon. Also in this verse, as quickly as a side note, she completely clothed Gideon. And this is what is happening to us, or will happen to us, on that special day of Yom Kippurim, the day of coverings, where we will be covered and clothed in the Spirit's garments of light. So when the Messiah returns later in that evening, we will be able to stand before him filled and covered with the set-apart Spirit of Yahuwah. And he will not see our imperfections, he will see the Spirit's garments of light covering us. Oh, that's incredible. Judges 14:6, we see Samson coming up against a lion whilst on his way to Timnath, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she came upon him mightily, and here he was able to tear the lion apart. And it says, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she rushed forth upon him. Again at King 14:9, when the spirit of Yahuwah was rushing forth to come upon him to enable to kill 30 men, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she rushed upon him. Now, 1 Samuel 10:6, we have something interesting. The scene is Shemuel telling Shaul that he should do what he should do and what would happen. Then at verse 6 we have, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she will fully rush, Zalak, but rendered in the feminine singular and conjugated perfect, denoting the fullness and completeness of the action to rush in and advance. So she will fully rush upon you, and you shall prophesy with them, and you will be completely turned and transformed into another man, which is an interesting subject in and of itself. Here we have the set apart spirit of Yahuwah, feminine, fully rushing upon, again feminine, Shaul, and transforms masculine, him, masculine into another man, enabling him to prophesy. This is not a physical transformation, so he looks different, but an inner transformation of power and authority. When the Spirit comes upon us, after we have walked through the doorway of Messiah's sacrifice, we also get and start a transformation. We become different inside. We also become different people, being filled with ability, power and authority. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verses 13 to 14. And Shemuel, he took hold of Yikkak, which is masculine third person of Lakak, to take, grasp, seize, accept, fetch, etc. And Shemuel, he took hold of Aleph and Tav's horn. Now I've translated or transliterated the Aleph and Tav in this case as Aleph and Tav, being the first and the last letters of the Hebrew alphabet. I do believe this is pointing to the Messiah himself. And he took hold of Aleph and Tav's horn of the oil, and he smeared and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. Then the spirit, feminine noun, of Ruach, she advanced and powerfully rushed towards and upon Dode, or David. Now, the term powerfully rushed, 'tis luck, feminine, singular, third person of Zalak. So she, the spirit of Yahuwah, she advanced and powerfully rushed towards and upon Dode. From that day onwards, and Shemuel, he rose up and he walked to Ramak, and the spirit of Yahuwah, she turned aside. She turned away. She changed direction. She went off from being together with Shaul. And a harmful, bad of small worth, evil spirit, from being together with Yahuwah, she terrified him. And it's again, it's a very interesting verse actually. We've got two separate spirits here. We've got one, which is the set-apart spirit of Yahuwah, our spiritual mother. She left Saul and resided with Dode, or David. But we've got a lesser spirit coming directly from Yahuwah, as a spirit of terror. Now, I don't fully understand that, and I don't profess to, and I'm not going to try and explain it, because at the moment my understanding is limited. But it is interesting, to say the least. But the point is, again, the spirit is rendered in the feminine. Then in Job 33:4, we got the spirit, Ruach, of the mighty authority, Elohim. She completely made me. Asatni, third person feminine of Aseh, to make, do, accomplish, but conjugated in the perfect tense, denoting the completeness of the action. So we got the spirit of the mighty authority. She completely made me. She is the character of my provider. She is my life, my existence. This is actually very, very, very interesting indeed. The normal translations of this verse completely and utterly miss the mark. For a start, the word Elohim does not mean God, but is talking about the mighty authority, the creator of this universe. Secondly, the translations say, the Spirit of God made me. The word translated made is asa, but they completely ignore the feminine third person form of the Hebrews, so miss out an important lesson that the Spirit is a she. Thirdly, they translate nishma as breath. Again, totally ignoring the feminine nature of the word. Also, they miss out the concrete meaning of this word, which is character. When Adam was made, Father breathed into Adam the neshama. He breathed into him his breath. No, it wasn't his breath, although it can be translated breath. He breathed into Adam his very own character. And it is that character in Adam that separated him out from the rest of mankind. And the root of the word neshama is Shem, and it means character, renown, purpose, reputation, and it can be translated as name, but as long as that we understand the name has meaning. And in ancient Hebrew thought, the breath of a person carried that person's character, not merely the exhaust fumes of the body. Now, fourthly, they translate the word Shadi as Almighty, which is utter nonsense and hides a wonderful meaning when used in this context. The root of the word Shad means breasts or teat. Now, not forgetting the Hebrew language as a concrete language, we have to think in a concrete way. That is, what does a breast or teat do? What is the purpose? What's their function? When a child is born, they are put straight to the breast of the mother. Why? The answer is simple. As soon as the baby sucks at the teat of the mother, they receive sustenance, but they also receive an amazing amount of protection from the mother's antibodies. And the antibodies are so numerous in the mother's breast milk. The baby also receives an incredible amount of comfort, and so many other vital things. The whole bonding issue is there. So using this word here, Father is not telling people that he is almighty. We already know that, and he knows that we know it. He is saying that he is our protection, our comfort, our provider, and that we get everything we need for our good, for a good and healthy life through him and no one else. He's our provider. And that is the lesson we must gain from this word. Not that he is almighty, no, not at all. These translators have totally misled the people in this and in all the other translations, which is so very, very sad. So this verse is saying that the Spirit, she is the character of our mighty provider, Yahuwah. Incredible, isn't it? When we actually start looking at the words and we start seeing things and start putting things together, it becomes so powerful, and it makes so much sense. And the fifth problem with the standard translations is again the rendering of the word here, to be or exist. They again totally miss out the feminine third person possessive nature of the Hebrew word. So in all, we miss out so very many teachings if we just stick to the bog standard accepted translations. If we stick to translations of men at all times, we miss out on so many vital truths. And that's a very, very sad state of affairs. Okay, we'll end part 3 here, and in part 4 we'll continue with Psalm 143:10.